All right, here we go, guys. Episode 347, Unlocking Your Inner Strength. I'm having an awesome day so far. This is a part of that day. Where do I begin? This morning I went out for a run. Devin got a workout. She's really been getting back on track with her schedule. Things get hectic with the holidays, right? It's easy to knock people off. So she went for a workout at 6. I had planned already, when I got up, that I was going to start with my meditation and visualization. And with that stuff, guys, there's a guy I have that has sent me some like microdosing kit. So I'll do that 4 days on with my meditation, then 3 days off to really just access the mind a little bit more. So anyway, I started the day with that. Emma came up. She laid on me. Then Colty came up. He laid on me. And I got such a good sleep last night. I got about 8 hours, which is very rare for me, but that's another focus I want to start really putting at the forefront for some of these big goals that I have set for myself for this year. I need to be in peak mental, spiritual, and physical condition. So started my day out with that. And then for time's sake, I said, okay, rather than driving over to the gym, let me hit one of my runs. Now, one of the things I have this year planned for myself is to run a full marathon, which I will do. Anyhow, I went out on the run and went for what I think was probably my longest straight run that I've ever done. I've always been pretty good with endurance, but I've never been a runner before. Right? I've been dabbling with it the past year, 2 years. Wound up going, how long did I go? 5.5 miles with a 10-minute pace, so I was pretty pleased about that. But on my run, listening to different stuff, I had thoughts pop into my head. And one of those thoughts were these 3 mental things I wanted to share with you guys. So I'm always trying to think of what can I share with you guys? What content can I have? And by the way, if you like my new office, this is Emma's room. The garage was getting a little too cold. So came in here about 3-4 hours ago and continued my work. Got a little tray table set up here. But that's one of the things on my goal for the year, which I will maybe share with you guys in the next episode. Some of the things that I've set for myself for this year, just so you could follow along and maybe hold me accountable. Anyway, on the run, these 3 mental things I wanted to share with you came into my head, and I'm going to share them with you now. To master your mind, let me say this first. You must become a student of the mind. And there's so many opportunities to learn about your mind because every day you're put in different situations and you have to figure out how do you navigate this or how do you grow, all these types of things. The first thing I want to talk to you guys about is beliefs. So remember BBR. Beliefs lead to your behaviors, which lead to your results. Let me say that again. Your beliefs lead to your behaviors, which lead to your results. Your behaviors are your habits. The law of attraction is a very real thing, but many people misunderstand it because they cut out the behavior piece. Right? They just want to have a belief. A lot of times it's just wishful thinking. Beliefs have to be believed, right? They've got to be energized, knowing that, hey, I am confident in this. And again, guys, this is stuff, you can read the article I just put up on the same thing. That's another thing as far as leveraging your time. Another podcast for that one. Got so many ideas to share with you guys. But your beliefs have to be energized. You really got to believe them. You can't just be wishful. So you have your beliefs. That's going to lead to the behaviors or the habits that you form. Now, when we're talking about beliefs, if it's a self-belief thing, you're not going to adapt and create habits that don't align with what you think you are capable of. Let me repeat that. If you don't think you're capable of something, so that's a belief, you will not form the habits around that thing that's going to move you closer to it. And then the results, right, the lag indicators, they're going to come based off the consistency of the daily habits and actions that you take. Beliefs are really something that we all need to be mindful of. The beliefs are really coming from your inner dialogue. And the inner dialogue is something that you have control over. It might not seem like it, but you do. That's one of the main things you can control, right? Your beliefs, your attitudes. And I'm actually going to be interviewing Dax coming up, maybe this week, for the podcast. And Dax is a good friend of mine. He's my mentor with mind mapping. But I'm really going to dive deep talking to him and asking him questions about the inner dialogue, because that's where everything is, guys, the inner dialogue. So I want you to examine your beliefs, right? Because they're going to lead to your actions. Now, remember the process of creation: thoughts, words, action. Thoughts, words, action. Thoughts, words, action. So that you could kind of transpose over this. Your thoughts and your words really drive your beliefs. And then the action is your behaviors. So I want you to really master that concept. Now, the second thing I want to talk to you about is this idea of courage. When you are trying to grow and expand your life and the potentials and possibility for your life, you're going to need courage. Well, let me say this. Courage is like a muscle. You need to work it, right, to build it. We all have courage within inside of us, but when do we need it? We don't need courage when things are going well and smooth and we're not challenging ourselves to grow. We need courage when we're trying to have a breakthrough. The clues that we need to be mindful of when we're getting ready to tap into courage are your emotions. When there's anxiety, when there's maybe overwhelm, when there's especially fear, that tells us, okay, courage is called for in this moment. And then you got to step into it. So back in May 2020, which is still funny to me, guys, it was, I get people all the time still coming up to me that I don't know, talking to me about that they saw us on the news, they saw me on the news, which is really awesome. A lot of supporters out there. Really cool stuff. But when I made that decision, I remember laying in the hammock with Devin, right over here. It was an emotional, a lot of emotion behind it, I should say, but we talked it over, and she's like, you got to do it. And then I remember it might have been that night I was sitting over in the hot tub, so it was like a Sunday night. And the decision was easy because of my beliefs and my values. Right, let me repeat that. The decision, even though it was monumental, right, this was a thing that, when you think about it, guys, it was pretty much us, the guys down in South Jersey, and maybe a other couple, handful of businesses in the country that decided to make a stand. So yeah, courage was required for that. And of course there was fear, but I wasn't scared. Right? The fear came from the unknown. But that became very easy when this stress was there and this fear. The courage was easy to tap into because of my belief systems and my values. So the reason I tell you that is really take time to get clear on what your core values for life are. What are your core values? And for me, it's simple, right? Because my core values are the core values that we have for Newell Strength. Right? That's what I live in. That's what I do on a daily basis. And then, the core values that we have for the family, right? This is how we do things. Now, lastly, I want to talk to you about stress. So we all have something called allostatic load, and that is basically how much stress you can handle before you go spill over the top. The other night we went out, it was Saturday night, we went out for our team holiday dinner. We went to a brewery over in Somerville, good spot, Village Brewing. On the website it says they don't take reservations. There was 25 of us, which was awesome. I mean, we had everybody from the team was there. It was really cool. We get in there and me and Devin got there early and say, look, we got 25 people coming. They're not coming for like another half hour. We're just going to grab a beer And, maybe you guys get something ready for us. She goes, well, it's going to be a while. We got a party of 100 in the back, and we're going to put you maybe at these 2 tables, but there's a reservation coming in. So they did take reservations. We didn't know that. It said on the website they don't take reservations. So now the team is there, right? I had a couple options. I could have panicked and I could have let this situation become stressful, or I could just solve it and find a problem, come up with a solution. It's very hard to get me stressed. And I think it's because I practice all these things. So what I did, I made a couple phone calls, found an Irish pub, Mannion's down the street. We walked over there. They were more than happy to accommodate us. Now that situation could have become this stressful thing. What am I going to do? Now with stress, where this really comes from, in my opinion, part of it, is when we're too rigid with what we have planned. Okay, your brain loves prediction and response. But when we become too rigid, that doesn't allow for any variation. Variation is a constant, right? Variation is a change. Change is the only thing that's constant in life. But most people fear change. So you got to really get your head around that, because most people fear the one thing that's always going to be present, which is silly. And then when your expectations aren't met, a lot of times that'll cause the stress level to go up. You start stressing. It was supposed to be this way. It didn't turn out that way. Blah, blah. And people get all bent out of shape. And your disappointments will always stem from expectations that have not been met. So the clue here, guys, or the key here, I should say, with stress is build chaos into your plan. Look at your expectations. Don't become so glued on to a specific thing that any variation is going to put you over the deep end. That's not good for you. And remember, too, that majority of stress that we face as human beings is in your head. It goes back to the other stuff I was talking about. How are you handling your emotions? What are your beliefs? What do you believe about life? What's the inner dialogue? Right? Your inner dialogue will drive more stress in your life than anything else. Your inner dialogue. I would venture even to say that your inner dialogue is everything when it comes to stress. Because when something happens in your life, you can still decide how you're going to respond. What is your reaction, right? Reaction is a lower level brain, but your attitude is a thing that you can always control. So if your inner dialogue is driving stress, let's reverse it. Ask yourself, what thoughts am I having that I'm feeling stressed about this? And then reframe it. So these are the things you got to do when you want to keep mastering your mental game. You got to constantly examine your thought processes and how do you get better? How do you get stronger? Guys, I'm always studying this stuff. It's one of my great passions in life. And I study it because I struggle with it. I study it because I struggle with it. But there's so many, like if you wanted to master your mind, you can listen to me ramble on. You can go get books. Like I would challenge you to read like 12 to 20 books on self-development and mindset this year. And just watch how your life changes. Guys, that's what I do. Reading books all the time. I'm constantly listening to stuff. Somebody texted me the other day, a client and a friend, and he brought up a situation he was going to have with the panda, and I think he thought it was going to be a problem. I said, man, this is great. This is great because now you're going to get to see how to apply this to real life, quote unquote. He said, man, your level of positivity is unreal. It's because I practice this stuff, guys. I practice it and I struggle with it. So I always want to put that out there in front of you guys. Is I'm not preaching to you guys. I'm basically talking to myself as I look into the camera and giving myself a pep talk. So that is episode 347. 3 mental secrets you can use, put to use right away. Always appreciate your support, guys. We got the goal setting workshop in Flemington tonight. Then we got Panda Lesson 1. We got about 40 participants. This is going to be killer. You're going to see 40 transformed lives. And then because their life has transformed, it's going to transform their families' lives. And you don't even know where this will end, right? It just ricochets out. So anytime you have an interaction with somebody, you have the opportunity to teach somebody. And I was a teacher, right? That's what I started out doing. I'm still a teacher. You never know, just even teaching one person, one thing, the ripple effect that could have on the world. All right, guys, you rock. Thanks for the support. I'll catch you guys later in the week.